So our view, Margaret, is that currency manipulation or misalignment, whatever you want to call it, that can have a negative impact on U.S. exporters and unfairly advantage foreign exports into the United States. In the USMCA and in the Japan-U.S. deal from the first Trump term, we had chapters with the parties committing not to do currency manipulation. The Treasury Department has a statute to avoid that, so we certainly are in these kinds of discussions with these countries to see if they're willing to make these types of commitments as well.
That's a pretty big ask.
Contexts. Well, the Japanese agreed to it in the first Trump term. The Canadians and the Mexicans agreed to it. This is something that periodically has happened over the years. Countries have had to revalue to make sure they aren't giving artificial competitive advantage to their exports. I mean, it's a big ask because we're in a various situation. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit that Biden left us with. It's the highest in human history, and currency is certainly part of that.
But I say it's a big ask because it takes time to negotiate. It could take you longer than 90 days, right? So does that mean this 90-day reprieve could continue to be renewed? I mean, do you know what happens at the end of 90 days? Is that the amount of time you have to negotiate deals with the 70 countries the White House says are calling?
Well, I'm considering that we have 90 days. Before April 2nd, we were already having many talks with other countries because everyone knew tariffs were coming. This was not some secret. Everyone knew, and so we already were in conversations with several countries. It's going to be up to these countries to come to the table, continue coming to the table, and make these kinds of offers. I mean, the reality is we're working around the clock, day and night, sharing paper, receiving offers, and giving feedback to these countries with respect to how they can better achieve reciprocal trade with the United States.
But 90 days could be a rolling deadline, is what I hear you saying.
Well, I would not say that. In the president's cabinet meeting last week, he was asked about this, and he said, well, we'll see. I mean, my goal is to get meaningful deals before 90 days, and I think we're going to be there with several countries in the next few weeks.
Ambassador, the president, I know you weren't testifying on the Hill when the president changed the policy on reciprocal tariffs. He said later to reporters that he didn't have access to lawyers when he made the announcement of the change in policy. Quote, "We wrote it up from our hearts. It was written from the heart." He said that a few times. Why doesn't the president have access to trade lawyers when he's announcing policy? These are massive policy shifts. I'm sure there's somebody who could have taken a call.
So that type of discussion had been happening for several days. He's talking about drafting the tweet. He drafted the tweet from his heart. But that kind of policy, that was always a possibility, and the order was drafted by lawyers to ensure that the president could modify the policy to further the underlying goals of the order. So trade lawyers like myself and a huge staff that works for me, White House counsel, et cetera, they've all been involved from day one to give the president the kind of flexibility he needs to address the emergency he's declared that forms the basis for these tariffs.
Ambassador Greer, thank you for your time this morning. We'll be watching what you get done.